Today's episode comes to you from the Blue Chew Studio. When you buy 2 months of Blue Chew Gold, you get the third for free with promo code MyWorld. You'll also receive an additional 10% off plus free overnight shipping on your first order at BlueChew.com. Hey, it's Conrad the Mortgage Guy, and you're listening to My World. And of course, we couldn't do it without the Hall of Famer, the greatest professional wrestler of all time, your friend and mine, Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff, how are you, man?
Dadgummit, Silva, can we not ever start on time? Me and Conrad were here. I'm not even going to do my show open and make Conrad put a smile on his face. We're just going to get right to it. Conrad, I have nothing to say about shoes. I have baseball. I have nothing to say about Cats football. Dave Green can go to hell if he wants a lot of chatter. I don't know, buddy. How are we doing? Monday. We are live on My Road recording day, and we got all kind of news and notes that we're going to tackle. So I'm excited for this episode. What you say? Got a lot to unpack here, don't we, pal?
It's going to be a lot of fun. We are indeed live at myworldpod.com. We greatly appreciate you guys joining us. You never know what's going to happen, so why not hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell? We're going to see a couple of pieces of Double J history here in a little while, and of course, we're going to be joined by our very special guest. I can't believe it. Gail Kim will be joining the program. If you've got a question for Gail, we're going to be talking about all things Dark Side of the Ring. Of course, she was a rather glaring omission. We'll get into why she didn't appear in Dark Side of the Ring and get her side of things. Would love to have your questions, so keep those coming from Gail Kim. We are live at myworldpod.com. But, Jeff, we are live on a Monday evening, less than 24 hours removed from AEW Redemption. You were there for the kickoff show, a loaded card, as always. I think there's like 10 or 11 matches on the day. A lot of wrestling. What'd you think of AEW Redemption from Montreal?
You know what? As we got into the buy-in show, man, oh man, if I could tell you how many different moving parts were going on, and I stumbled over myself. I said some nonsense, but what I meant to say was nobody does PLEs or pay-per-views like AEW does. And man, oh man, again, stacked card, a lot of Omega. He's such a unique character. I don't know how deep you want me to dive in. Man, with my man Jay Lethal was super entertaining. But the Montreal crowd brought it. The Rougeau brothers, what a very, very cool 80 years. Me and Ray were catching up backstage, and his uncle got into business same year as my grandmother Christine, 1946. So 80 years of professional wrestling with the Rougeaus and the Jarrett. So it was cool. It's a good night. Montreal always brings it. The French Canadians bring it loud and proud. They always have. So it was a lot of fun.
I enjoyed it. I got to tell you, as a fan, I loved when Jacques Rougeau turned on the crowd when they started booing. It tickled the hell out of me. I am curious. What do you make of that? Is this just residual heat from the Mountie? Is this rumor and innuendo? Is this internet wrestling chatter? I was kind of caught off guard that Jacques got booed in Montreal.
No, you weren't. No,
I was legitimately.
You don't know Jacques. You know, his brother Ray is a politician now.
Yes.
And, okay. So I just thought it was such a unique and, you know, God bless Jacques. We had him on here and he was talking his video game, and me and him go so far back. He came to Memphis, worked for my father. I've always had a good, fun, joking relationship. He walked through catering. I started right away. Conrad, you would have enjoyed it. You would have said, yeah, Jeff must know him very well. He's giving him a hard time. So, but old Jacques, I just shook my head. I'm like, dude, you're up here and we're celebrating you, and you're going to let the boo birds get you. And they did, but that's Jacques. He just could not leave it alone. And my gosh, but he's still active in the wrestling world. And so you're going to have lightning rods, or you're going to have heel fans, or you're going to have haters, or you're going to have people wrestling fans, which me and you have talked ad nauseum on here, if they want to boo the hell out of you, just bring it. But in that kind of platform, when they're celebrating 80 years of the Rougeaus, I would have thought that he would have just kind of let it roll out of respect for his brother Ray and out of respect for the Rougeau family name. I didn't think he had any place saying "kiss my ass," but I will say this over and over and over: Jacques will be Jacques, will be Jacques until the day Jacques is no longer with us. But it surprised you, huh, Conrad?
I loved it. I mean, it got a huge reaction from my household. We did a little viewing party. I mean, everybody laughed. We loved it, especially the way he pronounced haters in his, French Canadian accent. I don't know. It just got all over me. It tickled me. The actual show itself was something else, man. We start things off with a 6-way ladder match, which was unbelievable. Right into a Young Bucks tag team match with Moxley and Ospreay, followed by Kyle Fletcher and Bandito, and then a double chain match. I mean, it was like, can you top this again? And as it always is, I guess, for AEW pay-per-views. Which match stood out to you the most this time?
I don't think it's fair for me to say, because I expected Omega to tear the house down, and he did. I really did. Kevin Knight is a super athlete. Thought it did him a world of good to be elevated for the night in that kind of set of circumstances. Anytime you can get a main event against Omega the month before, All In, Wembley Stadium. But man, oh man, Bandito and Fletcher, that should, and maybe I'm giving this too much thinking, like, well, that shouldn't have surprised me either. But Conrad, I don't know your thoughts on that match, but if you're talking about, in the words of good old JR, blue chippers, those two guys, like, they never disappoint. So going in, I expected a lot out of that, and man, they did. It was really good. It was really, really good. Bucks don't have a bad match on pay-per-view. Don't have a match, but especially on pay-per-view. That ladder was a car crash, like I thought it would be. But I'm going to land back to me on Fletcher and Bandito. And when you kind of look, to me, I think we're beginning to see, I still think it's early. Fletcher hadn't been around that long, but we're getting to see kind of his body of work that he's really, 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 really good.
I love the show. There was lots of surprises on there, at least for me. For one, I know maybe I should have seen it, but I kind of thought Tekla's been doing such a great job. They're going to keep the title on Tekla. Tekla versus Mercedes at All In. I could get excited about that. We know it's now Willow versus Mercedes. What'd you think of Willow's big night in Montreal?
I said it in buy-in, and when Renee kind of pitched me and I was alluding to that, there was a lot of moving parts in the early afternoon, and things that were in and out. I won't get into that, but so we had a segment, and Renee pitched to me, and we talked about that. And when you just my off the cuff reaction, and I thought about it later. Willow, like Tekla, she's 24/7, 365. Always have a game face on. She's always ready. She's always really, really impressed me by that. But I think in a lot of ways, Willow brought that emotion last night. She's always had it in her, and when you see her enter, it's fun and conglomeration vibes and all that. I'll just call it entertaining, fun stuff. But when Willow wants to go, and not that she doesn't want to, but she really wants to buckle down and go, man, oh man, her and Mercedes are now teed up. It's going to be, I mean, they're going to push each other. Willow's just very, very good, and you've seen her develop over the last 24, 36 months. She's a star. It's just that simple. She's a star.
Let's talk about Andrade. He's on the winning side here. He's got some new hardware now. He's the national champion, picking up a win over Mark Davis. What a resurgence he's had since returning to AEW, huh? I mean, he's been on quite a tear, and now got the extra gold around his waist. What do you think about Andrade in AEW right now?
At the end of the day, you can just kind of see him jumping ship back and forth the last couple of years and how he hit his groove. And as we said on here, from different talents, fresh new coat of paint, or maybe better said in this opportunity or occasion, just needed some new air, a new space to do things. And, we've talked about just different talent that, at some point in their careers, go to Mexico or go to Japan or find themselves, on the independent scene. You kind of think about Drew McIntyre on the independent scene, or AJ, kind of his journey, and different people in Mexico. But Andrade, just coming back in here, and I think internally he felt he had something to prove. And there's nothing like self-motivation. So happy for the guy. He got the win. He's the champion now. Hard part starts now for him, in my opinion, because he's started to climb that mountain. And now, to me, he's a champion. I think the hard part's really started for him now.
Well, the hard part was watching what the Painmaker and Tommaso Ciampa were doing to each other on Sunday night. I saw some things I've never seen in a wrestling match before. I don't know what I expected when I heard that Chris Jericho was bringing back the Painmaker, but I think he put a lot of thought and effort, and boy, they put each other through the paces. This was a war, Jeff. What did you think of Ciampa and Jericho?
During this match, I could just hear the pops. I was in a meeting and in conversation, and then that meeting ended, and I saw the fire extinguisher. I saw just a little bit, and then they called me right back in. So I heard the reactions. I didn't get to see it live, but I'll say this, and a lot of times you can bank on it, Connie. It sounded very entertaining.
Let's talk a little bit about what's next for Cage and Cope. They picked up a win over the Death Riders, and now they're on a collision course with the Young Bucks. It's going to be the Young Bucks versus Cage and Cope at Wembley Stadium at All In. There had been lots of speculation that, hey, maybe these other tag teams that were recently released on other channels could find themselves inserted here. At least as of right now, it looks like we've got one of the greatest tag teams of the 90s against one of the greatest tag teams of the modern era. What are the reunion tour, I guess it is, for the former Edge and Christian against the Young Bucks for the title at Wembley Stadium. It has a big fight feel. What do you expect in that one? And then what did you think of the Young Bucks match with Will Ospreay and Jon Moxley? I thought it was an interesting decision that I just assumed before the show that would close. I thought maybe Kevin Knight and Kenny Omega would open the show. We'll talk about the post-match angle, but I wanted to hear whatever you think about the Young Bucks and maybe where they're headed.
The Bucks tag match, we'll go there first. Storytelling. And you could kind of see the chess pieces moving around, which were easy to follow in a good way. But I thought the Bucks showing up at the end of Cage and Cope was simplistic but super powerful. And look, it's hard to me and look, you do a premium live event. That's why, when AEW got up and running and they only had 4, boy, all 4 felt so big. And then you add another one in, and that's the nature of the business model. You have to, to kind of run we'll call it a full schedule, whether it's 10, 11, or 12. But when you do that, now you obviously slot one 4 weeks away from a stadium show. But I think the upside that we saw last night was the story's already there. I've heard many of old-time Booker, if you will, is that don't screw it up. The story's already there. Don't overthink it. Don't over-promote it. Don't over-hotshot it. Don't angle it up. My dad used to use the term, and this is maybe a little territory term, you don't need a spice up. You don't need that. Just let the story play. And to me, you look at the 2 veterans, tag team of one generation facing the tag team of the next generation. It's there. I'm excited on a personal level for all 4 guys. I think it's pretty cool. That's the thing. You don't really get these many opportunities. There's LeBron James is in the news so much, and he's 42. When you think about some of the players that he's lacing them up against, in their early 20s, I mean, he's been playing pro ball, not ball, pro ball, as long as they've been alive, and many of them since they were in diapers or elementary school. So when you get a chance to face the guys that you literally grew up watching on TV, and you're going to have a highly competitive match in a stadium, it's special. So I'm glad to see the layout they did.
Me too, man. I'm fired up for Wembley, and there's a lot of question marks about what's next and what to expect. I do want to hear what you thought of Kenny Omega and the post match. I think fans were maybe assuming the story was going a certain direction. Now I don't know exactly what to think, but it does look like Will Ospreay is seemingly trying to separate himself from the Death Riders. And maybe we're seeing a darker side of Kenny as we prepare for All In. I don't know. I know I'm fired up for Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega. That's kind of the point, right?
Kenny's got the edge, if you will. He's the champion. He's the veteran, hometown boy. I think it again. What they did last night, and Conrad, I had a early flight out of Montreal, so as we were delayed for about 45 minutes before, because I had my iPad in my lap, and I'm like, do I want to get this out and get started? But I didn't. I scrolled and watched social media, and I was watching bits and pieces and thinking about the Omega hand raised, and then clip. That's another set of circumstances to me that the story's there. Veteran versus hometown boy. It's not as big a generation gap as Cage and Cope and the Bucks, but it is a somewhat handing off of the baton of, I'll call it the Omega. His style of wrestling really came into and I know AJ Styles and then Omega, and you can just kind of look at the handoff through the years. But Omega and to me and Will, that is going to be the passing of the baton. But I think the big deal is, and we heard many comments from a lot of folks, I'm not sure Omega's ready to hand off that baton just yet.
Yeah, he looked terrific. I can't wait to see the match. And I did want to ask you, you sort of teed up an interesting talking point. I don't know that you saw, but I guess there was a lot of chatter during the pay-per-view online where I'm not saying the fans in the arena were saying this, but fans watching on pay-per-view at home were saying, hey, the crowd seems dead. The crowd doesn't seem like they're into it. This isn't a good crowd. That was even a comment I heard at my watch party last night. Hey, this crowd sucks. But then you made a great point where you said, hey, to really be successful in this model, you're going to need to figure out whether you're running 10, 11, or 12 big premium live events a year, or whatever the number is. But once you do that, you're inevitably going to have one show that's about a month out from a big stadium show. And that was where this was this weekend. Do you think by the very nature of promoting, we'll call it a stadium show, when you're doing that, it requires such a heavy lift promotional wise that you have to start so far in advance that you almost do that at the expense of that pay-per-view the month before? Do you accidentally cannibalize some of that? Because seemingly you've already established to the audience, hey, the big show's a month from now. That's the one you've been talking about. And this is something that WWE has dealt with their February pay-per-view for years. When WrestleMania was in March, Fastlane and things like that just kind of felt like an afterthought. Is there any way to avoid that, or is that just the nature of the beast and it is what it is?
It is what it is. I mean, Conrad, I could go back, man, oh man, and I have these kind of thought processes. But when Mr. Eric Bischoff said, you know what, we're going to 12 months out of the year, a pay-per-view every month, and then Vince goes. And of course, Jarrett always had a comment about something, and nothing new was said in those conversations. But I got to hear again, maybe a little different spices and flavoring on it, how his philosophy in running 52 weeks a year, and that was his business model. And other territories had, the Garden was once a month. And you protected it like gloves. Memphis was weekly, and just the philosophy. And my dad's philosophy was he never, and we've talked about it, May and September, when kids are getting in and out of school, you can run discount prices, kids free, all that. You can have a big show around a Thanksgiving or a Christmas, but for the most part, stay the course and let the product speak for itself, because you build up expectations. And by building up expectations, the big show, you are subliminally telling your folks, hey, the big show's next month, but the next three are just kind of so-so. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. And, in the creative meetings at WWE, and, and I think it's changed a couple of times, but between Rumble and Mania, it is what it is. At TNA, you just the booking arcs, the storyline arcs. You want the big payoffs. It doesn't matter, what company you're talking about. Mania, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, Lockdown, Bound for Glory, Halloween Havoc, Starrcade, whatever the different tentpole events are. You're just going to have that ebb and flow. It is what it is. But that's why I think, when you look last night at Montreal, Omega, the story was told. Was it as big as All In? By design, it's not. But was it a hell of a show? Oh, you ain't kidding. It was very good show. I mean, the latter. I mean, we've already kind of hit on it. It was stacked. But it by design, it can't be as big as your 2, 3, maybe 4 tentpole events a year.
Well, if you want to have a big tent pole of your own, can I recommend Blue Chew Gold? This episode is brought to you by Blue Chew Gold. I saw a rapper on the street the other day, a Blue Chew rapper. I would call that a walk of fame. Blue Chew Gold is better sex in a tablet. They've combined 4 ingredients into one powerful solution. 2 ingredients get you ready physically, and 2 support arousal and desire in the brain. Blue Chew Gold works fast and it lasts. And now guys can have a complete experience in the bedroom with Blue Chew Gold. There's a reason why Blue Chew is the #1 brand for better sex. Experience it for yourself right now at bluechew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Right now, when you buy 2 months of Blue Chew Gold, you get the 3rd for free with promo code MyWorld. That's promo code MyWorld. You'll also receive an additional 10% off plus free overnight shipping on your first order. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast and the bedroom. And Jeff, we are live at myworldpod.com. We've got some good questions coming in. Let's get to them. If you've got a question for Jeff, hit us up. Wrestling on the Spectrum, our pal Brody said,
right on, brother.
Was Jacques Rougeau's theme song in Memphis Dirty Laundry by Don Henley? And if so, why was that his theme song?
What a unbelievable memory that Karen would just shake her head at me. I believe you're right, Brody. I'm almost positive you're right. And, back in those days, there was no production meeting. There was a boom box and a cassette that you carried with yourself. And so back in those days, your ring music was pretty much what you wanted. So Lawler got first dibs on the hottest song, and then it trickled down from there. But no, I believe it was old Dirty Laundry by Don Henley. And that was that's a good question to ask that knucklehead. Like, why did you who knows? I'm sure he sang it a lot and annoyed everybody in the dressing room with it, but all good.
I don't know if you've heard some of the various ones that Flair would pick on spot shows, but they were all about loving and leaving, baby. James 2656. I appreciate you hanging out with us a little bit. Darren Staley says, you were on a real emotional high with all the attention from the doc, and now some time has passed. Are you still riding the wave or thinking more, okay, the book is closed? That's interesting. Do you feel like this experience has given you any closure, Jeff, with regard to the TNA chapter of your life?
Time will tell. There's no doubt, and kind of we've talked offline. Lots of I don't want to say old wounds because that sounds like a little whiny bitch. I want to say that, but there was a lot of an emotional bandwidth that came with all of it. And then it was one thing for myself or Karen, to sit down, and we knew what we were signing up for. So I'm not complaining, but then it airs, and then, it's the first time you're around this group of folks, and the first time you're around I just left the gym. I landed, got home. Me, Karen, and Codes went and ate. I ran up to the gym. I saw a guy in there I hadn't seen. I mean, shoot, maybe a couple of weeks. He hadn't seen me since the doc come out. So it's still there, but it's, got a chance to talk to a lot of production folks last night. And, people have different comments. They look at it on the one hand from a production point of view, different, and almost to the man. They were like, hey man, all due respect, I know that's your life. So we respect your transparency, vulnerability, that kind of stuff. So, life goes on. But it's I still said it, and I've said it every week on here. I feel incredibly grateful, A, that I'm alive and got to tell the story, and B, that Vice and Dark Side and Evan chose to tell it. So.
All right, Jeff, it's time for one of my favorite segments on the show. We like to call it WrestleWorth. Think of it more like Antique Roadshow for wrestling collectibles. Maybe you've got something in your man cave or in your home office and you've wondered to yourself, I wonder what this is worth. Well, send us your picture, send us your story, and we'll find out. It's WrestleWorth@gmail.com. That's how you can send us your stories and your pictures and your items. And then each week, we're going to have our pal Tony jump on and give us his opinion of what he thinks some things are worth. Speak of the devil, Tony from Heritage Auctions is with us. Hey man, how are you, dude? Thanks for jumping on with us.
I go for the National this week, so doing really good. Did a media day here and ready to go. Excited. The auction opened up, a lot of bids.
Oh no.
The bids are open right now at ha.com for Heritage Auctions. You can go ahead and get registered right now. You can find all of the Jeff Jarrett collection by going to jeffjarrettcollection.com, or again, just check it out at ha.com and search for Jeff Jarrett. Our first item up today, Tony, is something pretty cool. And Jeff, this is from the old school, man. 1980s era USWA match worn signed boots from the Jeff Jarrett collection. Oh. I love this. This is old school, and we see the old-fashioned JJ on the boots. This is a classic wrestling item, and, I know that in baseball, people want bats and balls. I think, by and large, most wrestling collectors probably want boots more than any other piece of ring-worn gear. Tony, what do you think? Or how popular are boots right now?
Boots are really popular because they have a lot of personality. This one with the double J on there, the way that they constructed it, and these have really held up well through the decades now. They show great wear. There's not really any cracks in there or anything like that. So you're right. A lot of people really gravitate to the boots because they're worn every night. They're worn for a very long amount of time. And I'm sure back then, Jeff probably wore that. I'm assuming he wore it for quite a while, given the use. But again, they've really held the test of time, and they present well. They look great in a man cave. And there's some early action on those boots too, which I really like seeing.
You ain't kidding, Tony. Those, yeah, they definitely got some wear and tear. When I look at them on this side of them, shipping them out of my house, when the way they're imaged up and the soles and all that. And it just takes me back to Memphis, Louisville, Evansville, Nashville spot shows. I mean, I wore those. Wow. A lot of matches. I don't know how many matches I've had in my career, but I would say a couple of hundred matches in those pair of boots. So it's fun. Tony, did you say you were at the National this week?
Yes. Yeah. We're at the National Sports Convention. It's in Chicago. It starts tomorrow. But we were here doing some media, and we do have Jeff's collection that's going to be on display at the National. So we do
get out of here.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We've got some of the select items. I can send Dave some photos when I get there tomorrow. But
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it. Meeting people. Stop on by our Heritage booth and introduce yourself. Anybody that's out there, and take a look at some of these just amazing items that are up for auction.
How about that, Connie?
I love it. Jeff, what year do you think those boots were in use? I know we said USWA era. Are we thinking this is rookie year boots? Will these be 86, 87, 88, 89? What do you think?
I'm going to go 89, 90, 91.
So this would have been during some of your dad's Dallas stint too, right?
I was going to say, I feel like they're Memphis, Dallas, back and forth. I do. I wore red, white, and blue. I had a red, white, and blue jacket. I had, got lots of blue tights. So I'd say for 88 through 90-ish. Yeah.
So lots of matches with Jerry Lawler in the Mid-South Coliseum and the Sportatorium. A lot of really cool history on these boots. See them for yourself right now and get registered at jeffjarrettcollection.com, or just type it straight in. It's ha.com for Heritage Auctions and just search for Jeff Jarrett. But We're not done, Tony. You've got something else pretty cool. I think this outfit is from 1993, Jeff. This, of course, is in the JEFF, JARR, ETT, the Double J era. Talk to us about this outfit. I feel like this is maybe one of your first ones, Jeff.
It is, and the reason that Conrad, I know you're probably, if you were in your grave, you'd be rolling over in it. And you're thinking, them damn tights, the straps and the crazy colors and the sequins, but the armbands, Conrad, if you'll see, and Tony, hats off for how you guys have displayed this. It does. When the first time that came out of your mouth, you said, "Hey Jeff, these look good on a mannequin," I'm thinking, this guy's out of his freaking rocket. What's he talking about? Tights are going to look good on a mannequin. But the arms, the way the sleeves are, Conrad, these are first year of the design. So, and I got away also from using the sequins traveling so much because they were heavier and kind of broke down. I am amazed that these bad boys are still in as good a shape, because the sequins, any folks that have dealt with that traveling, they can rough up. So yeah, these are probably, Conrad, 93, 92, 93. Yeah, 92, 93.
If you grew up in the new generation era, if you were a big Diesel, Razor, Heartbreak Kid, 1, 2, 3, Jump Double J, this is your era. This is good stuff, man. I love the history behind this, because I mean, I think you've had an action figure wearing this outfit. I know for sure that if you just Google image Jeff Jarrett or Double J WWF, man, you're just going to be hammered with photos of you wearing this. What a cool piece. It's going to stand out for sure. Tony, let's start with the boots. You know, if you were a guessing man and this is your industry, what do you think the boots would be worth at auction? What are you guys going to place as an estimate on the boots?
The estimate is $20,000 on the boots.
Wow.
And again, I know I've said it a few times, you know, having Jeff give the background on his items helps it so much, because he basically is the authentication here. And he can, and honestly, as a collector and as a bidder, when I can hear those stories, those nuggets of information like that, it just helps out so much. Because if I'm thinking, am I going to bid on this item or not? When I hear the story about how these were, you know, used in 100 matches, that as a bidder would help sway me to bid on it. On the outfit, I mean, that just screams 1990s with those neon, the hot pink, the neon colors and everything. It just, and the sequins are such a selling point here. You've kind of got the cape, and then you've got that just colorful, loud outfit. And again, it looks phenomenal on a mannequin. And that's why wrestling outfits, wrestling gear is kind of having a renaissance, I would almost say, because they look so cool. It's not that a baseball and football jersey doesn't look cool on the mannequin, but the wrestling outfits have so much going for them. They're so unique. They're all kind of one of ones in a way too. So we're excited. And I like the early action. You typically get action early in an auction and late in an auction. So I think, you know, now people are kind of putting in their first few bids, but we're excited. And I can't wait to see it at the National, to see his items on display there, because it's amazing stuff.
Tony, I've got yourself at the National, and of course get registered in these auctions at ha.com. And Tony, before you get out of here, we do have a question from our buddy Brody. He's got a question that I think you are uniquely qualified to answer. Tony, how valued are old wrestling programs? Do signatures help or hurt old wrestling programs' value?
Signatures are going to definitely help the value of a wrestling program. It especially with some of the wrestlers that passed away through the years. Of course, the Haystacks Calhoun or Andre or Brody, some of these just really iconic names. It does nothing but help. And now they are grading programs. So there are a couple of companies that do grade programs. So what that's going to do is it's going to help the entire industry. It's going to help everything as far as programs. And it's kind of neat because you've got some of the house show programs, and it's just phenomenal. And you've got, the WrestleMania programs. You've got the early WWF magazines. Those are very collectible, and a lot of people are really after those, especially the earliest ones. So there's just Programs, very collectible. Tickets also very, very collectible, and the market's very solid on that. But yeah, as a collector, if I'm at a show and somebody does have programs, take a look inside, because you never know what you're going to see. Sometimes people would staple their ticket stub from the event. Sometimes guys would get autographs on the inside. So if you're at a show and you're looking at some of the stuff, look at the program, look at the inside, because you never know. And what I always love doing with the programs is looking at the card, who wrestled that night, and just seeing some of the names, especially the 80s. I love going through them and seeing what some of those cards were.
Cool. Tony, I got to tell you a quick story.
Sure.
So my phone's on the kitchen counter, email pops off, the subject headline is Heritage Hawkins, but Karen knows whose it's from. She's like, what's he emailing you about? And I said, oh, let me look. Anyway, so that led to another conversation, and I pulled up on the Heritage Auction site, and Karen got to view, and her immediate response was, wow, Jeff, these guys are really, really professional. Conrad did well. I said, Conrad did well. What about me and Tony? She loves Conrad. But anyway, I did want to congratulate. I mean, she's like, oh man, these guys are really professional. So the queen approved. But
all right, that's a good thing. The boss.
We got zero credit. Connie got all the credit.
That's hilarious. Well, you guys should be the ones with the credit. Go set up your accounts right now. Go register for these items at ha.com. You can see all of Jeff's collection at jeffjarrettcollection.com, or just search for Jeff Jarrett in ha.com. Tony, hope you have a great time at the National.
Yes, sir.
And look forward to catching up next week.
I will send photos tomorrow.
Send pics, man.
I will do.
Double J's at the National. No.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Tony, we thank him for being here. We absolutely love whenever we get to catch up and talk about memorabilia. I'm interested, though, if you're with us here live, let us know in the comments, what would be your favorite piece of Double J memorabilia? Like, if you could have one piece of memorabilia or collectible from Double J's career, what would it be? I don't know, Jeff. It feels like to me, and I don't even know if you know where this would be, but do you know where the old light up Double J hat is? Is that with WWE?
My man. Give Ben a shout out, because it works. You have to do some little jimmying with the wiring, but it's heavy and it's been through the ringer. But the entire lighted up outfit is in the original case. They built a road case for that thing way back when. God almighty, 95. And yeah, it's way back when. And you got your own road case with a light up jacket. That got heat with a few folks, but that's okay. But yeah, I guess that would be the shit, that thing cost a lot way back then. No telling what it'd be worth now.
If you had one, if you could have a do-over and you could go back in time and just take a piece of the set or a title or some sort of memento, a keepsake from the office, is there one thing where you're like, you know what, with the benefit of hindsight, I wish I'd have hung on to that, whatever that may have been? Does that exist for you?
I mean, it's just straight off the cup. Conrad, I grew up watching Saturday morning TV, and my version of everything that I aspired to be as a kid was the Southern heavyweight champion, Lawler, quote unquote, Lawler's belt. They refer to that on TV. Because the NWA was here twice a year, 3 times a year. It was such a foreign, kind of a distant deal. I can remember, and I was quasi smart to the business, but I can remember like the first time winning that, it was special. And I was young in the business, but still, it was kind of living that boyhood dream. There's probably, because that nothing resonates like, childhood stuff. The 10 pounds of gold too, the United belt. I mean, the one that I won in the United Center, I know a replica sits behind me. That's a cool piece. No matter how you slice it and dice it, that is kind of that belt that had the lineage from NWA to WCW, 10 pounds of gold, Harley and all that. Those are, the belts are special. It was funny how you commented on boots are like kind of a standard bearer. That's interesting because I thought you would have said belts, but I guess as a personal item, it would be boots. Yeah, I get that. Anyway, yeah, that's my general thoughts off the top of my head, pal.
Hey, I'm curious. I've never asked you this, but when the WCW office went to Andre Freitas at AFX Studios and they ordered some cast copies of the Big Gold Belt, the idea was they wanted to have like a backup copy in case they ever needed to work on the original, and they kind of like the idea of having a couple of extras just in the office for promotional stuff. We're going to use it in a photo shoot or whatever it may be. Well, at that time, Andre says that he actually extended the offer to a couple of guys. Hey, would you like to get a belt made? DDP said yes. Kevin Nash said yes. And I don't know if you know this, but somewhere there's a Jeff Jarrett one floating around. That's the rumor and innuendo. Do you remember ever ordering a replica, a cast copy of the Big Gold Belt from Andre Freitas and AFX Studios, or is that rumor and innuendo?
I don't know that I think I said yes. Conrad, how long have you had that kind of bit of information? That's funny.
Well, if you recall, and I don't even know that you know this, but the belt, Hogan's Beat Shop at times would have different handlers who would tell people some half truths, and they would say, "Oh, this is the real Big Gold Belt." Technically, it is the real Big Gold Belt that Jeff wore to the ring when he laid down at Bash at the Beach 2000. It's a copy of the belt. It's all gold, and Andre made the strap, and it's all black leather, and it says Jeff Jarrett on it. So when Hogan was letting fans take pictures with it, he spray painted it again, like well after WCW was collapsed, like 10 years ago, and then would say, "Hey, here's the NWO belt," and let people take pictures with it. But in reality, anybody who ever took pictures with that belt saw there's a nameplate that says Jeff Jarrett. Well, that makes me think that belt wasn't the one that you ordered, but maybe it was just one of the extra ones that the office had. But I've never really asked that night when you wore it out, was that the Andre belt that you personally ordered, or did it wind up somewhere else?
I have no idea. That is a great question. I have no idea. I wasn't thinking about that night.
No, not at all. Hypothetically, do you remember what belts cost back then? Like when you first started ordering belts in TNA in 02?
Oh, a couple of grand. Grand, I think. Yeah. I think.
It is interesting because I had a conversation once with Dave Milliken about what like the Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage dual plated winged eagle, like what in my mind was the greatest looking world title of all time was. And he thinks that he was selling them to Vince for under $1,000. Like
Dave was?
Like 8 or 9, like Reggie was, like 8 or 900, which to me is like,
what? Yeah,
unbelievable.
Exactly.
Like when you think about how much that would cost now,
yeah,
it's no comparison. We are live here with Double J. If you've got questions, we asked you guys, hey, what ultimate piece of Double J collectible would you love to have? Here's some of the answers we got as far as the Double J collectible that people would be most likely to want. Derek Zoo wants the light up jacket. I think we all agree with that one. NY2979 says a Smash guitar. I could have guessed that one. Angela says a ring worn jacket. Rob Palmer wants a guitar. Pastor J wants an NWO guitar. Pin Down Podcast wants to know, I would love to know where the gold ring jacket that Double J wore at Bound for Glory 06 against Sting. Do you still have that?
I need to see a jacket pinned down. I assume I do. A gold. Yeah, I would. I'm trying to think. I would assume I do. I can tell Conrad's eye line is he's Googling somewhere.
Oh yeah, I'm working on it right now.
I think so. 06. That's Detroit.
Isn't it interesting how particular shows stand out to guys?
Yes, that's the one. Me and Sting, Kurt, special enforcer. Stinger did the Hulk up on the guitar shot. Yeah, the gold pair. I've sold a few through. I sold a couple during the pandemic. I've only sold a very, very few through the years.
B40 Brian wants to know, Jeff, do you have any of the old Memphis belts? Do you know whatever happened to those, Jeff?
I mean, you would know much better than me. Now, I mean, and when, like, I saw Jeremiah Plunkett the other day, and I assume it's a replica of the Mid-America. But to me, what were the Memphis belts? To me, they're the Southern Tag and the Southern Heavyweight. We used the Mid-America title, and then there was a period when the AWA Tag Team titles and in the AW World Champ, but that was Bachwiegel and Hittig for the most part. And then Kurt and Jerry had it. And then they did the Unified Championship with Kerry and WCCW. But as far as Memphis belts, to me, there was really 3, maybe 4. And I have no idea.
Well, no matter what belt you're wearing, you're always going to look good wearing the perfect jean. I know Double J does. If you saw him on the pre-show yesterday, you know my man looked comfy, but he looked sharp, and it's all because of the perfect jean. And that is a big frustration for guys who actually train. If you're one of those guys who's got the thick thighs, don't worry. The perfect jean can hook you up. And seriously, it's not like some off the rack stuff. These are as comfortable as freaking sweatpants, but you still look sharp. And it's going to be able to move with you no matter what your day calls for. You know, if you're bending down to tie your shoes or squatting to pick something up, you don't have to worry about restriction like you do with some other jeans. These are like your karate pants, big dog. They actually fit your body the way it exists at any given moment, no matter what you're doing. You can do a full squat, not that polite little knee bend, and you're good to go. I also want to recommend that they've got something for everybody here. I mean, like all kinds of sizes, no matter where you are right now. And what a great value it is. I'm telling you, when you hold these jeans in your hands, you're going to know you feel the difference. I bet you'd probably expect to pay like $200 for jeans like this when you actually touch the fabric, but it's only $79.99 and you're going to look phenomenal. I mean, I don't mean like they're just comfortable. I mean, they look great and you're comfortable. What else can you ask for? You're going to totally fall in love with the perfect jean, and you're going to see why it is a go-to for Double J. And I want you, when you get a chance, check out some reviews for the perfect jean. Here's what you're going to see people talk about over and over and over. I didn't think this would be as comfortable as it is. These are the most comfortable pants I own. This feels like sweatpants, but they still look sharp. That's what the perfect jean is all about. And our listeners can get 15% off their first order plus free shipping at theperfectjean.nyc, or just Google the perfect jean and use the code Jarrett15 for 15% off. That's theperfectjean.nyc, or just Google the perfect jean and use that code Jarrett15 for 15% off. So, Jeff, you've got some big news. You know, AEW is heading across the pond, and you are too. And I think you've got some big news right now for Glasgow and London. What's the big? I can't wait to hear the big announcement, man.
Well, Conrad, you're the pro with these announcements, but I'll at least get the cat out of the bag. So after I don't know, lots of back and forth trying to figure this out. But folks, My World Live, doublejlive.com is coming across the pond. That's right. We have a Tuesday night show the night before Glasgow. Man, oh man. Meet and greet. Start time 7:30. My man Grado. We have got a very cool host, Des Clark, local personality, stand up, all around great guy. Grado weaseled his way in, but no, Grado, he's a national Scottish treasure. But My World Live, Tuesday, August 25th at BAAD, BOD. Anyway, that's the name of the place, doublejlive.com. We have a very limited amount of VIP meet and greets because we want to spend time, make sure everybody gets through, and I get to spend enough quality time with everyone. But we have a meet and greet, and we have general admission. It is in the hottest spot. I still don't know exactly how to pronounce that, so I'm not going to butcher it. Maybe someone here in the chat can give us. But that's all happening Tuesday night, the night before Dynamite and Collision in Glasgow, Scotland. Come on out. It's going to be a blast. Tickets went live as I delivered this message, Conrad, but that's not all. That's the first event. That's on a Tuesday. Then a few days later, we're going to roll right down to London. And you got it, Saturday afternoon. I want to make sure I stress Saturday afternoon. There's a lot of moving parts going on around Wembley weekend and a Rev Pro show, and we fit in a nice sweet spot. Meet and greet's going to start at 2 and start time at 3. The White Horse at London, it's literally less than 5 minutes away from Wembley Arena or Stadium. It's just literally right around the corner. But it is a super, I'll just call it, it's a very small spot. So we have extremely limited availability. But I said, I want to do something in London. London has been great to me through the years. So doublejlive.com, the White Horse, London. Meet and greet starts at 2, start time at 3. Rev Pro doesn't kick off till 6 o'clock. Both shows, folks, I was in Montreal yesterday. I was in Nashville this past week, kicking around the tires. We're going to have some fun. And Conrad, you always do this, right? I'm taking a page right out of Conrad Thompson's book. We've got some special surprise guests. So in both shows, I'm looking forward to seeing everyone, meeting and greeting and carrying my world over to a live experience. And as Conrad says, we're probably going to tell stories. Not probably. We're definitely going to tell stories that only you can tell in private.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be the dark side of TNA. Go grab your tickets right now at doublejlive.com. Coming your way, Glasgow. Coming your way, London. Pretty excited you're getting back on the road. And speaking of back on the road, it looks like Vince is back on the road to being a public figure. It's all put to bed, pardon the pun. It's all finished now. No more lawsuit. Everything's signed off. Everything's dismissed. All motions are null and void. They're in private arbitration. A check will be cut, and this will be in the rearview mirror for Vince McMahon, as is the shareholder lawsuit. Now the entire world is wondering, hey, what's next? I recently caught up with Eric Bischoff, and I asked him that, and I said, it seems to me like perhaps maybe Vince wants to get out front and tell his story for the first time, because there's been a lot of people saying, oh, Vince did this and Vince did that. But we haven't heard from the man himself. We've seen some strategic messages released through his attorneys, but as far as just, hey, I'm going to write a book, I have a television show, I'm going to do an interview, whatever it is, it feels like there will be some sort of PR component coming from Vince McMahon. That's what I would expect. And then Vince has been filming things, we think, for a while. So maybe he's been doing this all along. I mean, even the Hulk Hogan funeral was produced, according to Eric, which I guess I knew because we saw clips of that on the Netflix thing on Hogan, but it just didn't click for me. So I'm curious, Jeff. I want to ask you, what do you think is next for Vince? And do you think the necessary first step is some sort of PR campaign from Vince?
I have no idea. But when you think about the history of his, I was going to say career, but his public career, if you will, he wasn't a quiet man in the 80s. He damn sure wasn't a quiet man in the 90s. And I'll never forget, as you know, that day in Boston. I guess that was when, in a lot of ways, Vince went silent and only spoke publicly in statements, if you will. And so, Conrad, is that 4 years ago, 5 years ago? Good Lord.
He left in 2022, so 4 years ago.
4 years. He doesn't do anything quiet. So I'm expecting something shocking. I'm expecting something loud. Obviously, it is going to be up Vince's alley, but I just don't really have any idea. You just said something. Hulk Hogan's funeral was produced, or Vince's part was produced?
I know it was filmed. I know there was a camera crew.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
I mean, I don't know who they worked for, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's interesting. We will see.
Don't you imagine they filmed his birthday party? That big 80th?
Absolutely.
I'm just saying, it feels like there were things where he wants to, hey, here's what I've been up to, sort of thing.
But like, to me, yeah, I'll be careful how I word this, but there's always a business slant. What's his next? And maybe not, but my gut tells me, what's the next business move? That's what's interesting.
No doubt, it's interesting. And speaking of interesting, we have got a very special guest who's about to join us. You want to talk about interesting? Maybe one of the most interesting people we could ever have on the show. If you've got a question for Gail Kim, we certainly want you to keep those coming now. Right now, I want to brag about our friends over at Larinco. Maybe you're not in the loop on this, but I'm going to tell you, Jeff and I are, and we absolutely love it. Larinco is better for you chewing gum. It not only tastes great and lasts long, but it'll help you get a brighter smile. It's plastic free. And when you use it after a meal, the gum really gets the saliva flowing to help you rinse away the debris. You're going to notice your teeth are less sensitive to hot or cold. It just feels good knowing that you're doing something to keep your teeth strong and healthy every time you use it. Think of Larinco. It's better for you chewing gum, and it uses the same mineral your teeth are made of to support daily enamel health. Larinco sent Jeff and the Queen and I some gum, and let me just tell you, we're all huge fans. Not only does it taste great and last a really long time, but the idea that we know it's actually helping us, man, it makes us just feel good about what we're doing. It's a totally effortless way to take the best possible care of your teeth possible. And right now, Larinco is offering our listeners up to 50% off at buylarine.com/myworld. That's buylarine.com/myworld. That's buylarine.com/myworld for up to 50% off. And Jeff, you want to talk about one of the most influential wrestlers of all time. And I felt like it was maybe a glaring omission. I don't know why she wasn't on Dark Side of the Ring. I can't wait to find out more. But we've got a real bona fide professional wrestling legend joining us here today, Jeff.
Do I get to do the honors, Connie?
Please do, yes.
Wow. So here we go. It has been a minute, but man, oh man, I cannot wait to just sit back and let her tell her story. I got a text earlier today that I'm going to let her know about that might put a smile on her face. But I will, without further ado, because we started to do an episode a couple of different times and Conrad got long-winded for one reason or another. But now we get to have her live here today, and don't believe in coincidences, only convergences. So I think it's the perfect time. Ladies and gentlemen, the original knockout, my friend Gail Kim. Gail, what's up?
What's up, guys? Can you hear me?
Wow.
Oh, yes. Perfect, man. Your production, that doesn't shock. Conrad, look, I got headphones on, a stupid mic. She looks all pretty sitting on her couch. Tell your other half howdy if you get a chance, Mr. Robert. So
I will.
Yes.
He's not here. He's in Philly right now.
Okay. Hey, seriously, Gail, thanks for coming on.
No, of course. You messaged me yesterday, and I was like, I'll do anything for you, Jeff. I owe you the world. I really do.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
I do. You know, it's just, I don't think people realize, that time. What year was it? 2005? No, 6 maybe? I'm terrible with years.
Me too. When did you start? Conrad, if you've got notes, I want
to. Spike TV, the first episode of Spike TV.
Wow. 5, 6. See, we're not great on dates. Neither one of us are, but yes.
I know. And, it took a while, but I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I can't even tell you. And I never really say it out loud because I feel like, I don't know, everyone has a different opinion when it comes to wrestling, but we really did restart a women's, revolution, or we got the women's wrestling going again, and it never went away after that, I believe anyways.
Gail, I've said this, and now that you're on here, I get to brag on you, because the reality is, and there's a gentleman up in Philly. He's multiple degrees from Temple University. His name's Michael Cavassini, but you probably have know him or heard of him, but you've talked to him. He's done a ton of research, and it's a lot more than all due respect, websites and newsletters and stuff like that. He did a deep dive, but it does. We lived it, and I'll never forget, just kind of the entire process and TNA, and we had the X Division, and we've talked at different times on this podcast, different slants and all that. And Gail's saying, Jeff, I want to wrestle. And I'm like, I understand, Gail, but we've got to build a base. We've got to build it out. And Gail was jumping off the top rope, Conrad. I didn't have to do any Hurricane Rana's off the top. That was Gail. But Old Planet, Jarrett, myself, and Gail, and Chris and James, we were the heel faction when we came on, and that was kind of my philosophy in booking. The anchor are the heels, and that was us. And then little by little, we started putting the pieces of the puzzle together. And when the time was right, I just think one of the most proudest things that I have ever been a part of in my entire career, not just TNA, my entire career, was seeing the building blocks and building and building and building to the point that Gail, you and Kong main evented an Impact and delivered numbers, and you delivered numbers before and after, but just the foundation. And I think a real historian will tell you, and I'm not one of those, but folks that have really looked at the ebb and flow of bra and panties, and if you want to go back in the 90s and a Lunderblaze, and Vince tried one or two hair, and then the Japanese girls and all that. But as far as a women's division on a national scale, to me, Gail Kim and Austin Kong are the OG foundational members. Without them, the building blocks aren't in place. I truly believe that. And nobody can change my mind on that.
Well, thanks. It was, I don't know, it was just magical, and it just worked, and the chemistry was there. But I think going even before the women's division, you kind of tested the waters, and you said, hey, do you think you can wrestle Jackie Moore? And I said, I'll wrestle anyone. And I was very fortunate that I got to wrestle her before in WWE, and I knew what to expect. And oh my God, you know, she's so physical. I think everyone knows. I actually say she's the toughest girl I ever been in the ring with. Not to take anything away from Kong, but if you take the size and the strength, Jackie has it all. And I remember she'd pull me down from the ring, and I have to shoot fight her, just like Kong. Both of them, I had to shoot fight, but I didn't mind that at all. And I knew that they didn't mind it, and that's what was so magical, right? I mean, it's just really real.
And that was gosh, because Jackie, but you know, Jackie worked with us in Memphis, and hell, she wrestled Brian Christopher and wrestled guys and you know, they always did that kind of stuff. But but yeah, wow, those are the good old days, Conrad. A lot of fun. Just it was such a fun time. I'll say this, you know, we obviously the dark side is out and kind of topical in my brain, but those early formative years as we were building things, Gail, going to work, which I never called it work, that was a lot of fun though, huh? We had fun.
Oh my God, we had so much. I mean, what was it, Doubletree? It was so good. We go, and you know, it's amazing to think about our schedule back then, because we would do sometimes a week or even more in a row, just wrestling, and sometimes double shots. We'd do the daytime, you know, pay-per-view specials, and it was just a really good group of people trying to make, you know, being the underdogs and and Spike was such a great platform for us. It was just a really great group of guys. Now looking back in hindsight, you really see how magical that roster was. It was like you, and like you said, AMW, and Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, and then the Knockouts. It was just a really special time. I think, and you know, wrestling changes over the years all the time, but now you can really see this, you know, how special it was. Because right now, I just feel like, my opinion is that everything just feels very corporate and cold right now to me. Wrestling across the board, it just feels like a little bit of heart is missing, and I feel like that's what we had back then.
Yeah, agreed. Conrad, jump in here, pal, because I know you've got all the notes, but no, I'm kidding. You used to have the notes, but dive in, my man.
Well, I didn't know if you guys realized this, but I think it's 20 years ago this month that Gail had her first official match in TNA. It was Hard Justice 20 years ago.
Wow.
According to Cage Match, they call it, that was the first official match, which I think is interesting. It was a 6-man with you and America's Most Wanted. And I know that you were sort of anxious to get the women's division growing, but Gail, you came to TNA after a stint with WWE. And I feel like a lot of people, maybe who grew up as young wrestling fans, maybe they aspired to be on the WWE platform. And sometimes when it doesn't work out, I know that is disillusioning for other people, but it feels like you enjoyed your greatest career resurgence after WWE. How were you able to shift gears and really find yourself if maybe the original plan didn't quite work out exactly the way you hoped?
Honestly, it was TNA. I always tell this story. So when I got fired from WWE in 2005, I remember just completely losing my passion. Completely. I quit wrestling. I actually quit wrestling, but I didn't announce it. And, you know, when you get released from WWE, you get a lot of offers to work indie shows or international shows. I literally missed out on that whole hot period because I had no passion whatsoever. And so I remember I took 2 bookings that year, and they were both international. One was for Ultimate Dragon in Mexico, and that was a favor because I really liked them. And then the other one was Australia. And Jeff, you were on that Australian tour, and it was a lot of us. It was Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, Nydia, Test. God bless his soul and rest in peace. And it was just a fun time. And I remember just getting that spark again. And Scott called me because he had talked to Jeff, and they said, we're going to be on Spike TV, and we want to have a women's division eventually with more time. And just the thought of that, I was like, okay, well, I had a great time in Australia with everyone, so I'll go down to Universal, come visit everyone. And then I stepped onto the property and I saw everyone I worked the indies with, like Bobby Roode, P.D. Williams, Eric Young, everyone. And my passion just resurged automatically. And then I said yes. And, honestly, we just never looked back after that. It just was a very special time for me.
Wow. Super cool.
Yeah.
That is super cool. How about that, Conrad?
Well, the entire wrestling world has been paying attention to Dark Side of the Ring in more recent weeks. It's become a hot topic and a big discussion. And I'm just curious, what'd you think of the series? Obviously, a lot of stuff wound up on the cutting room floor, but what'd you think?
Hold on. Before we get into that, I'm going to deliver a message because Evan Husney texted me, the executive producer, and and Conrad, I think we talked 2 weeks ago, like, Jeff, who would you have liked to have had on here? And we kind of went through, and Gail, you're at the top of the list. JB's at the top of the list. Dutch Mantell. We kind of have our hit list. So there wasn't enough time. That is the real fact. So I am very curious, Gail, because, even yesterday at AEW, I was talking to some folks that were there that I'm like, Gail, you watched, and I'm not going to put, I'm assuming you watched it. If you didn't watch it, that's okay.
I watched the last episode today, though.
Okay. But you lived it. You lived so much of it. So anyway, what'd you think?
It was quite interesting, actually, because I watched the first 2 episodes at Rebel's house because I've been spending a lot of time with Rebel, as you guys all know. She has ALS. So I try to go over at least once a week or once every 2 weeks, as much as I can. So we watch a lot of television when we're on our downtime. And so we watched the first 2 episodes together. And it was funny because, remember, I was a talent back then. So I didn't know really what was going on in the office. You always kind of hear rumors and stories. And I even said to her, I go, oh, it's so funny because now I'm hearing what really went on, right? And so I was like, okay, it kind of sounds half right, or whatever I thought I heard the rumors of. And my opinion is that I think Dixie should have went on there. I think she should have at least got to say her side of it. My opinion, if you guys want it, in terms of all that, I think Dixie I still think she does to this day have a big heart. Okay. Like you all said, she didn't have any experience in the wrestling business. And I think a lot of people who don't have experience in the business, the problem is they don't put the company first, and I felt like, maybe her priorities were different. Maybe her priorities were above the success of the company. And I think that's where a lot of mistakes are made normally at least what I've experienced through all the different leaderships. It's, I don't know, sometimes the ego comes first before the success of the company, like I said. And I think if you lead a successful company, you're going to get your kudos eventually anyway. So it's just, it's hard to see the same pattern happening over and over and over again, but it's disappointing, I guess, because I felt like, oh man, when we lost that Spike TV deal, that was a huge shot, I think, because I was talent during that time, and I remember going to Pop TV and then whatever the other channel. I don't even remember the channels that Discovery something.
Destination America.
Yeah, Destination America. Yeah. And go from the level of Spike where we were getting 1 million viewers a week or more, around there. Yeah, it was much harder, and a little bit more discouraging. We always did our best regardless, but I think those are the magical years on Spike for sure. Yeah.
I'm curious, when you take a look at the story and the narrative that the Dark Side told, what do you think that maybe viewers didn't have the full context of? Like, obviously, there's a lot of things that we all wish they had more time for, but what was the number one thing where you're like, oh, well, without that piece, maybe the rest of the story doesn't make sense?
They didn't tell the knockout story in depth. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Oh, no. Well, that's okay. I mean, well, yeah, no, that's fine. They can do a whole other episode on that. I think the main one that pops up for me is the whole Jeff and Karen and Kurt storyline for sure, because it blurred the lines of reality. And, we do that in wrestling sometimes. And so they believe automatically what the storyline is. And I mean, and I didn't know completely either because it was really none of my business, but I was there kind of experiencing bits of it because I was gone for 3 years at one point. And I just came back, and like Hogan and Bischoff and all those guys, they were already there when I came back my second time. So I missed a big chunk when you went away, Jeff. So I heard, rumors through the grapevine, which is always a lot of hearsay, right? So that was interesting. So I'm glad that got cleared up. And that was the part that I said to Tony, I'm like, oh, now I'm finding out the true facts of all this now, 20 years later, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's still interesting to me.
Yeah. Yep. That was, for me, that obviously that story, but Gail, we have talked last couple of weeks about so many different things that there just wasn't enough time. The original kind of concept of the Dark Side production was do 6 sides of TNA, a 6-episode arc, and then maybe do a completely different episode on Jeff Jarrett. But the network was the final decision maker, and they came together and got 2 hours and got a third hour. But the stuff that was kind of left, seriously, on kind of the cutting, director's cut, if you will, to me, that when you're weaving the story to me of TNA, man, the X Division and the Ultimate X match, it does get quite a lot of the headlines. The 6-sided ring gets kind of headlines, and they kind of touched on that. But in to me today, and I loved how I'm very grateful how they, episode 3, that they did wrap it up and where I'm at today, and Tony Khan and working for AEW. But when you look at today's picture, if you will, when you step back, and I'm not just talking AEW and WWE, I'm talking about the independent scene or Stardom or CMLL, and you kind of look at I'll call it the growth and the online chatter. People will just chirp and chirp and chirp. There's not enough female wrestling. There's not this, all that kind of stuff. But when even WWE's Women's Revolution, but when you kind of look at all this, and I think as a consequence of what we did from, as y'all touched on, 05 till about 08, 09, the building blocks, the knockouts division, it was a real proving ground. Had that fallen on its face, I'm not sure, I think cream always rises to the top one way or another, women's professional wrestling. But when I look at a Charlotte Flair's career, when I look at the ladies who have been, we'll call it on top and making big, big, big money, I think of the players like Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, basketball players in the 80s. And now you're looking at a kid right out of college making $35 million in the NBA. Had it not been for Gail Kim, Awesome Kong, Knockout, Beautiful People, ODB, we could go through kind of a nucleus. That to me is one of the things that obviously it got cut for time. But man, Conrad and I said this 2 weeks ago. that could be an episode in and of itself that I think one day the knockouts division story will be told on the importance of all of ladies professional wrestling.
Oh, definitely. I meet wrestlers who are in WWE now, and they said, we want it to be a knockout. They may not say it publicly now because they work for, another company, but they said, we want it to be knockouts. And that group of girls, we were all so different. I mean, just not just appearance wise, our characters, our wrestling styles, everything was so special. We were, someone could just take to myself or Kong or ODB, and they would, that was the one thing that they would always say, that everyone was different and that they loved the characters and that we could go, right?
Yeah.
And we always felt that pressure. I'm telling you, I don't think I ever stopped feeling the pressure, even when I worked behind the scenes and retired. It's always that you got to deliver as a woman in this business. It's like the pressure to be in a group of guys and try to keep up or be the best. Or for me, I just always wanted to have the best match on the show, no matter what. I was always like, I gotta have the best match, not just, have a good match for the girls. I want to have the best match of the show. So the standards I set for myself were really high, and that never stopped till the very end.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Gail, I want to ask you a little bit about Dutch Mantell. He was another glaring omission from the documentary. And I don't know, you were there, you lived it. Mm-hmm. Was Dutch influential on the women's division, the knockout division in TNA? Can you talk to us about that?
Oh my gosh. He was so supportive. And I just remember him always being really excited and, even for future feuds or potential feuds. And he just always had our back, and just actually, I mean, all three of you, Scott and Dutch, all three of you guys had and Vince too, what I loved, you guys were just straight. So, I remember even very clearly Vince Russo telling me when I came back from WWE, I think I had some promo or something, and he was like, Gail, you're wearing too much makeup. I was like, I know, I look like a clown. And then he's like, and your promo. And I was like, I know. And it took me so long to feel comfortable to cut a promo and, to get in front of that camera and just have that comfort level. But he never, in WWE, I really felt like there was only certain moments I got to talk and be in pre-tapes, and there were far and few between. And I just felt like, you didn't get feedback. I just felt like I had to nail it. And, I could make a mistake and not be the greatest in TNA, but you guys always gave me the opportunity to keep on doing it. And that's the only way to get better. So I just felt like, it's two very different environments in terms of the company. I felt very encouraged by TNA. I didn't feel like I had to walk on eggshells. I felt like I could be myself and make mistakes and get better. And, just a really good group of people to work with. And, leadership matters. I think leadership is the most important thing. I've even heard you say that, Jeff, recently. I think it was probably on Dark Side of the Ring, but everything starts at the top, right? So it really is on the leader on what kind of environment you set for your talent and for them to succeed. For me, I didn't succeed in a place where I was on eggshells and felt like, oh my God, I got to be intimidated all the time. I succeeded where I was relaxed and I had feedback and encouragement. Yeah. So, yeah.
Very cool.
I loved hearing you share your story about TNA. We are live with Gail Kim. If you've got a question for her, we would certainly want to field those. Brody says, Miss Kim, are you interested in working behind the scenes for WWE or AEW? Also, if WWE called and said they wanted to induct you into the Hall of Fame, what would your reaction be? And would you say yes?
I'll never turn down a Hall of Fame because it's an acknowledgement from your peers and, from the industry. I did do a 4-week trial producing period after I got fired from TNA last year. So I did that with NXT. It went well. I did get an offer, but I unfortunately had to turn it down because the circumstances, let's just say this, Jeff, because the first time I left TNA is because I was offered a very, very low pay, and I had no choice but to leave TNA. I didn't want to leave. I was crying when I had to leave TNA after, all that. I went because of my finances. And so I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. Okay. It was on me in the very end, but, let's just say I was always good at fighting for other people, but not for myself. It's almost like I was conditioned over the years to think I didn't deserve to be paid at a fair wage. And so it's so crazy, but only in the last couple of years have I realized through close friends, family, and just a lot of inner reflection that I can't accept this anymore. So I was offered entry level pay to go move away from my husband, and it was just not an ideal situation for me to, after having 20 plus years of experience. I just felt like I was just falling into another trap or a situation that was not beneficial to me. So I told myself at the end of that 4-week period, okay, I literally prayed to God and I said, just let the answer be clear. I don't want any blurry lines of, the money's almost there, because I knew I'd have to move away from Robert for most of the week. We'd have very little time together. And the answer was clear, so it was an easy decision. And so I said, either I'm going to do that or I'm going to go off in my own direction and I'm going to do my own thing. And so I'm going to do my own thing, guys. So
I love it.
Yeah. So I started filming some content, and it's the first time I'm talking about it, actually, because I'm going to launch it soon.
All right.
Yeah. So it's basically, I'll give you a little blurb about it. So it's called Fantastic. So it's basically about becoming a fan of wrestling again, just like what I said a few minutes ago. I just felt like the heart of wrestling has kind of, fallen off a little bit. So every time I've been fired, which was WWE the first time and TNA this last time, my passion gets a little killed. And so I just want to become a fan of wrestling again. So I've gone on the road and I'm, exploring parts of wrestling that you'll never think I will. And I've got a couple of episodes in the can and I'm continuing to do that. So hopefully, everyone will like it. I'm doing something for myself now, for fun, and hopefully people will love it too, the fans.
I love it already. Good for you, Gail. Seriously. Yeah. And good for Robert. Seriously.
Yeah.
That's the longevity of a relationship. And I'm glad to, it sounds like you're in a good place, and that makes me smile.
I am. Thank you. I just didn't want me getting fired to be, I want to have my own out of this business. I want to be able to say I closed that door. And of course, there's always going to be a part of wrestling in my heart. I love it, really. I just need that little spark. And so I've been doing that, and I've been having a lot of fun. So, yeah, we'll see.
Cool. How about that, Connie?
Gail, where can fans go subscribe, or where can they find out when you're launching this? How can we keep up to date as to when this?
Let everyone know. I'll announce it on my social media. I'm on Instagram right now and X, Gail Kim, it's me. And so I'll drop some videos and let you know when I'm going to officially launch. It's going to be very, very soon. And when I mean that, I mean like in the next couple of weeks. So I've been working on it since last year, to be honest, but I don't know if anybody knows, but I'm in a little bit of a legal situation. So it's been a lot of things hit me in the last year. And so Tanea getting her diagnosis with ALS, my lawsuit, and my project. So it's a lot, like 3 big things going on in my life. So trying to balance them all. And I feel like now's the time. Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you, Gail. How about that, Conrad?
I love that. I can't wait to see it. We will certainly be talking about it here on the show and keep everybody abreast. If you've got a question for Gail, let's keep them coming. Cool Fool 1980 wants to know if Gail can tell us her thoughts and feelings about a 6-sided ring versus a 4-sided ring. That was a talking point on Dark Side. You got to do both. What'd you think?
Okay. I love the look of the 6-sided ring. I love the concept because it was special and different. As a wrestler, I can't lie, I prefer the 4 sides because it's just a little bit easier on the body. And the one thing I always hated when we go back and forth, and I would adjust very quickly, it's just like when you're in a tag match or something, you got to whip your opponent across the ring, and you just got to take a look to make sure you're shooting them in the right direction or the right buckle. And then I actually did love, though, going off the top rope more in the six-sided ring, because the footing where I would jump off, it would be a wider stance, so it's more stability. And so for the looks and for the fans, the six-sided, but for as a wrestler, the traditional ring.
Interesting. How about that, Conrad?
Yeah. That's kind of what I expected, I guess. And Gail, of course, there was a lot of chatter in the documentary about sort of the before and after, the two different regimes of TNA, you know, before Eric and Hulk, and then with Eric and Hulk. You got to see a little bit of both. I know that Russo was quoted in the documentary saying nothing really changed for him. As a viewer, I felt like the entire show changed. You weren't necessarily there when the changeover happened, but you certainly saw both regimes. What was the difference between the two different eras, at least in your experience?
It's hard for me to remember. It's very okay. It felt a little bit more discombobulated. When Jeff was there as the boss, we knew Jeff was the boss. It was very clear. Even though Dixie, even when she came in and she obviously owned the company, her and her family, still we knew Jeff was the boss. Just like, you know, recently before Scott got fired in 2024, Len was the boss, but Scott was our boss to the roster because we knew that they got it. You know, it really matters when you have a wrestling leader, I think, you know, and yes, Hulk Hogan and Bischoff were in wrestling, but it just felt a little different. I didn't get to see all the messiness of the creative control and all the drama that you saw on the show. I just went in as a talent and did what I was told. And I just remember begging for certain things, you know, please, can we have a ladder match and these things? And we got them, but it's just stronger, I think, when you have a wrestling leader that has a heart that, you know, is truly passionate about the company itself and the success of the company. Like going back to my original point, you know, having different priorities, you know, with Dixie, like I said, big heart, but I think the wrong priorities at the time.
Of course, there was a lot made about anytime you get a camera in front of Vince Russo or Jim Cornette, and there's an opportunity to talk about the other, that becomes a thing. You had an opportunity to work with both.
Oh, I like them both, and I'm like, oh my god, they hate each other, and I don't know what to. I'm like, I hope they don't hate me for liking them both, literally. Because I really do. I really enjoyed both my time with them because Jim Cornette taught me so much. I remember my first steel cage match with Jackie, and he made me get it, like get the crowd. That moment at the end of the cage, you know, that was all Jim Cornette. He's like, you're about to step out and you're going, no way. And you shut that door and you go to the top, and just, that was a pivotal turning point for me as a talent and getting it, you know? And I remember the crowd reaction after. I remember thinking, this is the first time I've ever felt this, you know, like getting them after. So I'm so thankful to Jim Cornette for everything. And then with Vince, he's always been really good to me too, and very honest and direct with me. And for me, I'm a very direct and straight person. So I appreciate that back. I don't like you to, you know, dilly-dally and try to sugarcoat anything for me. I like it straight. And so he was always like that for me. So I can respect that. So I just hope that they both are okay with that.
I love that. But Conrad, I'm gonna jump in on this, just kind of when Gail just had the biggest smile on her face because she specifically remembers exactly how Jim Cornette produced and suggestion and a little bit here and a little bit of there. But then when you see the talent come match time, the red light's on, they've gone 15, 20 minutes, and it's time to step up to the plate, and the talent over delivers and puts their own spin on it. And man, there is and I don't want to say just as a producer, but in this industry, when you can be a part of somebody else's success, it is 1,000 times more gratifying than if you come up with your own idea, with your own high spot or finish or sequence or promo or whatever it may be. That's great. That's gratifying. But when you can play a role in somebody else's success,
yes,
Conrad, it's so hard to describe, because there's an employee, employer, the coach, the agent, whatever it is, all that, talking to a talent. But there is something magical when you can contribute to somebody's success. It's just, I think that, Conrad, more than anything, may be the most intoxicating, or the thing that, I'll say this, like Gail just recently, as she spelled out, what kind of was in a struggle, like, do I go do this, leave Robert, to go produce professional wrestling, or do I stay? The thing that was kind of tugging at her heartstrings is, do I want to go contribute to others' success? And to me, that's the most intoxicating part about this business. So, Gail, you put a smile on my face when you just talked about old Corny. And Corny, I can see him out there. It's Orlando. It's 100 degrees outside. It's 4 or 5 in the afternoon. He's probably pouring with sweat. But old Corny, just like anybody who loves this business, was genuinely in it to go, Gail, we want you to succeed tonight. It's very cool stuff. That's a cool story.
And actually, you are actually another reason I owe you this too. Because when my body started breaking down and I knew I was heading for retirement, I was like, Jeff, do you think I could be a producer? And you did give me that opportunity. So I owe you twice.
I said, hell yes.
Yeah. And that was the thing for me. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen now. Am I going to get the same satisfaction from producing that I got from wrestling? I was very terrified of that, like missing it. All athletes don't want to retire. And I remember at the beginning just being terrible. Obviously, I don't even remember what I was doing, but I remember thinking, oh, I just want to run through that curtain, do it for them. But then over time, I got so much satisfaction from watching talent grow and helping them. And, Jordan Grace, I got to work with her over the course of 5 years. And at the beginning, there was like, she was, she could work, but there's no energy. And then we had a lot of talks about it. And I just saw that one day that it changed. And I said, do you see? You did it. Did you see? You did it. And she said, yeah, I heard it. And I was like, okay. And she only grew from there. And it was, I just felt so proud when she moved on, and felt like, okay, my job here to help her was done, and she's on her own and doing her thing, and I was very proud of her. So yeah, that feeling of watching someone grow and grow to some sort of success is very satisfying.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Mr. TNA 2005 is with us, and Gail, he wants to know, which young women does Gail think she will have a very successful future? So are there young women out there right now that you can take a look at and think, hey, I don't know what it is, but she's got it. She's got something. She could make it. Who do you see something in the younger generation today?
Well, definitely. Like I said, I got to spend the 4 weeks in NXT. So I got to train with, or, coach some of these girls. I really like that Lainey Reed, and she just got brought up, and she's in that faction with Fallon and JC Jane on SmackDown. Lainey, I really liked her. She just had a really natural talent, and I just think she's going to go far. She was progressing very quickly, just like Kendall Gray. Same thing. I got to see a lot of these girls up close and see how hard they work. And, they're just very humble and hardworking and just have natural talent. And as long as they're given the opportunities, that's really the key, I think, because I did get an opportunity in WWE. I'm not going to say I didn't. I won the title on my first night, but it's hard to start at the top when you're so green. But getting that second chance in TNA and getting to flourish there, and that's what it's about, right? Is the opportunities. So hopefully they'll get the opportunities, because I am, like you said, I'm seeing a lot of fans saying that the women's wrestling is kind of being downplayed at the moment. So let's hope it gets better for them. There's a lot of talent. Each generation of girls, like the knockouts, we had never seen. It was just success overnight, and it was, say, I don't know, Jeff, 10 to 12 girls. I can't remember. It was around there. And then, when I was watching wrestling, it was only, handful of girls, and then it just grew and grew. And so each generation inspires way more girls, like multiple. So there's just so much out there. It's just a matter of making themselves stand out and be different. I always said that I'm actually glad I was in my generation, because I felt like you could stand out more. Now I think there's so many women that it's harder to stand out. So, you know, you really got to think about a character, and even all the gear is kind of starting to mesh together and look very similar. So I think it's actually harder right now.
David Kuraming is with us here live and wants to know, what is your relationship like with Mia Yim and what you think about her future?
Yeah. I haven't watched Is this SmackDown? Is she on right now? I haven't watched. I'm not going to lie, guys. When I said I lost my passion, right? When I got fired. So it's hard for me to watch still. But I think through this process of my new content and project, I'm probably going to take the journey with watching it with the fans and getting back into it and seeing what I think. Right. So, Mia, I've always supported. She's like my little sister. I've always had that connection with her. And like I said, it's about opportunity right now, because she's at this point now. She's polished. She's veteran at this point. She's been around for a long time. So I'm always rooting for her. And I'm always here for her for any advice. Always. We still keep in touch. So it's good.
Pin Down Podcast wants to know, is there an opponent out there right now, not that you're going to come out of retirement and wrestle one more match, but hypothetically, is there anybody you've seen on TV where you think, boy, we could have had a good match together?
Oh, definitely. I see the name Charlotte. Charlotte for sure. I would have loved that. EO is, someone that she's incredible. Probably one of the best wrestlers out there. And I'm thinking Mia was the only other Asian. No, maybe on the indies I've wrestled other Asian girls, but EO's kind of the top of the top. So probably her or Asuka. But those top three, I would say Charlotte, Asuka, and EO.
I personally would have loved to have seen you go at it with Mercedes.
Yes.
You're so athletic, and both of you. I mean, I think you guys could have pushed each other in a lot of ways. And if we want to go, and I don't know if you remember this, Gail, but I'm sure you. But when Becky first got hot, when she first got hot, I thought, because I obviously would relate back to some knockout thoughts and all that kind of stuff. But you, because of her loud mouth, because she was super over as a babyface. But I'm thinking, man, you get the right sympathetic babyface in there. Becky could have been a hell of a heel on you. So anyway, we're fantasy booking here.
I could have been a heel.
No. Becky.
Becky. I could have been a heel too.
Well, okay. Yeah, you could have, but you're a better babyface.
Okay.
Well, you're getting a lot of love in the live chat, Miss Kim. We greatly appreciate you joining us. Check out this nice comment from Trav. He says, Gail, you were my crush 20 years ago, and you're as beautiful as ever 20 years later. Thank you for everything you did in wrestling.
There you go.
Oh, that's very sweet. I'm always thankful for longtime fans. And, I was just at the gathering last week, and, people, they always, your fans will always tell you a compliment or something, but honestly, truly, I always tell them, I'm just so grateful to be remembered. And I'm grateful that they remember, they still talk about Awesome Kong and I, that's so special to me that people will talk about it 20 years later, 50, I don't even know how many years, but much later. And that was always something I said to Jordan Grace, because this generation, especially her, because she was always online, she'd be like, I want to see whatever, a GIF or GIF, whatever you want to call it. It's called a GIF though. So she's like, I want to see a GIF. And I'm like, girl, that is so people just scroll through and they forget about it. I said, what you want to do is create memories and have them say 15, 20 years later, I remember that match. I remember that feud. I remember how I felt when I watched that. So I always tried to pass that along to talent. So you want to go for the memories.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well said. Well, you made a lot of memories today with all of our listeners. We greatly appreciate your time. Ladies and gentlemen, Gail Kim, thank you so much.
Gail, thank you very much. This was special. Appreciate you coming on. No, thank you. Really,
Yeah.
really appreciate you coming on.
Anytime.
Thank you
Say
very
hi
much.
to Karen.
I will. I will.
Okay.
She said hell back, I'm sure.
Okay.
See you. Thanks,
Bye.
Gail.
Bye.
We're
about
still
that,
live with Double
Conrad?
J. Keep those questions coming for Double J. But right now, it feels like Jeff may need a little coffee break. He needs some mud water. Boys and girls, if you haven't already, I can't wait for you to try mud water. I mean, if you love coffee, the taste, the smell, the whole ritual, but maybe the caffeine sends you into an anxiety spiral, well, mud water is here for you. Maybe you like trying new fun coffee shops and fun seasonal drinks, but maybe after just a cup, all of a sudden your heart starts feeling like it's sprinting and maybe your brain is running in 5 different directions at once. Mud water is for you. It's the same morning ritual, the coffee, the matcha, whatever you're into, but with functional mushrooms and adaptogens instead of a full caffeine hit. So you're getting steady energy with no spiral. You're going to love their original blend. They've even got spicy hot cocoa. How about warm, grounding, and actually satisfying? That's what you can expect because of ingredients you're familiar with, like cacao and chai and turmeric and functional mushrooms. You're going to love mud water. This is the morning drink that you didn't know exist because loving coffee shouldn't mean negotiating with it every morning. You're going to love that it's about 1/7 of the caffeine of coffee. So you get the focus and the energy, but without the jitters, the crash, or the anxiety. The best way to get started is with a starter kit. It's designed to set you up with everything you need to actually build this new habit. When you order, you get the full size 10 of your choice, your chosen blend, plus you get a free chargeable frother and free gifts and free shipping. They've got 4 different flavors. I think you're going to find something you love. And if you're ready to make the switch to cleaner energy, I want you to go right now to mudwater.com/myworld and grab the starter kit. Use the code MyWorld and you'll get 43% off. The frother alone is worth that. That's right. Up to 43% off with the code MyWorld at mudwtr.com. After you purchase, they're going to ask you how you heard about us. Please support our show and let them know we sent you. Jeff, what a great guest we had in Gail Kim. You know, she was one of the missing voices from Dark Side of the Ring. And man, I love her positivity. I love her spirit. I love to hear that she's going to be creating some content and keeping her hands on the steering wheel. I love it.
That was, we got a scoop, a late breaking news, or she gave us the inside track. But yeah, it's good. You know, me and Evan talked at the premiere that, and I was going to bring it up, and then she kept talking, and I didn't want to interrupt her at all. But you know, just the different kind of buckets that didn't make the director's cut. Me and Jericho, we had a conversation about that. Just, you know, Gail's story. There's a couple of stories in there we've talked, not to be repetitive, but yeah. I'm glad she got to come on today. I think hope she enjoyed herself. I certainly did because she was a big part of that history.
Well, we are live and I want to give a shout out to Brody. Brody, you asked a great question. We'll go ahead and pop it up on the screen. And Jeff, I'll explain why I didn't ask Gail. He wants to know, Miss Kim, what was your reaction when you were released from TNA in 2025? Did you see it coming? Who was on the TNA creative team when you were on their creative team? I didn't ask that because I think she told us in code right there. She reminded us she still got pending litigation, I think, with TNA.
And let's drop it. I had no idea, like no idea. Okay.
So when she said, well, as you are familiar, I have a lawsuit, it's like, oh yeah. So I thought, you know what? I don't want to put her in a bad spot and ask her a question I know she can't answer. So sorry, Brody, just wanted to be respectful to our guest, but that's the reason I didn't ask. A phenomenal question, but I just feel like, she's doing us a favor, and if I ask, it feels kind of gotcha. That's not cool.
Oh, absolutely. 10-4 on that.
Yeah. Sorry about that, Brody. Hey, I do want to ask you about something else. I don't know if you saw this, but Jim Cornette, who Gail just heaped a lot of praise on, recently gave an account, or I guess our buddy Alan on X, who we love seeing his stuff. He broke down Jim Cornette's, I guess, rules of being a heel in pro wrestling. Here's the tips for being a competent heel in wrestling. I want to run these past you. You know a thing or two about making people hate you. Boy, you convinced me of it. Number 1.
Wait, hold on. Did Cornette publish? Was this supposed to be published, or is this notes, or?
Yes, Cornette meant for this is Cornette is okay with this being revealed. This is not private.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't out wrestle your opponent. If you can out wrestle him, why should he be the hero? These are tips for being a competent heel in pro wrestling. Number 2, be a good wrestler, but cheat for the advantage in crucial points of the match. Remember your facial expressions and body language, and be whatever type of heel you are. A crazy brawler is out of control every moment, whether on offense. Say things that will make people mad and mean them. Be a heel all the time. Nobody ever got over in wrestling playing a role instead of being the role. If you hurt someone in a match, apologize to them in private, but brag about it on social media. Tell people you got into wrestling to beat people up and make a lot of money. Pretty easy, pretty basic stuff. What do you think of Jim Cornette's tips for being a competent heel in pro wrestling?
So that's why, because I saw this. This isn't in the last 7 days, I think, and I started having questions. Dave Silva, if you'll pop that back up here. Here's what kind of like point 1: don't out wrestle your opponent. If you can out wrestle him, why should you be the? That to me, Conrad, is a very, I mean, I don't want to just say 101, but it's so important because, and look, out wrestle is relative, but you can out wrestle as a heel, out wrestle the baby face for 1 spot, 2 spots, maybe 3 spots, but you have to show that the baby face is really the better wrestler. And you've got to do that through mannerisms. And man, even me talking this, and this is so like I can sit here and talk about it. Unless you really get it, you're never going to get it. That to me is super important. If you put the screen back up, because I want to make sure I say Jim's words right on point 2 that jumped off the page. Crucial points, cheat for the advantage and crucial points. That's it. That's how you get heat. If you cheat, and this is old school, in front of the ref, or if you cheat here or that, but you need to look for the advantage when it means the most. That's Lawler 101, man. He had it down to a science. So good, facial expressions, all that kind of stuff. Those 2 to me. You could do a college course on this. Being the role is that's you have to feel it. You can't anyway. That's important. The thing that threw me for a loop is social media. So he wrote this after 08, because I would have thought he wrote this in maybe the 80s or the 90s, but this is, in the 2010s. But the thing that is the caveat: say things that will make people mad and mean them. Okay, therein lies subjectivity, because what makes some people mad makes other people chuckle, and what some people mad makes other people just amuse, or what makes some people mad this day and age will get your ass thrown out. That's why it's a little different. But this is a great talking point and chatter and all that kind of stuff. But points 1 and 2, as a heel breaking into the business this day and age, hey guys, take a real hard look at those 2, because if you want to be a heel, they're very, very important. Very important.
The whole thing, be a heel all the time. I feel like a lot of people would say that MJF does that now. Is anybody else a heel all the time?
I mean, I can go in a rabbit hole or get on my soapbox. I haven't seen it. And that therein lies, like, you MJF, I'll call it, jumping off the page, all that kind of stuff. Therein lies kind of where the rubber meets the road, because some things, and you hear it in audiences, MJF music, there's a reaction. I'm not going to say babyface or heel, but there's a good reaction. And when he walks through, there's some cheers and some boos. So mean what you say, make sure you got to be the antagonist. There's where the art of being a heel really comes into play. I think the person that really figures that out in the social media landscape, because there is no, Jim's got a point. It's easier said than done, but when they know you're just kind of playing the role of heel, the bottom falls out.
Well, the bottom's going to fall out this weekend for SummerSlam. It's going to be a 2-night affair. They're in Minnesota. And I quickly want to run through some of the matchups and see what you think. Of course, everybody's going to be paying attention to how tickets final or shake out as a final tally. I think it's going to be better than we expect. I think they've already sold out of all their $25 tickets. I know that right now, WWE Club subscribers, whoever subscribed last month, gets like 20% off their ticket sales or maybe 30%. So they're running promotion on promotion on promotion to try to get people through the turnstile. But let's run through some of the matches. On Saturday night, we've got CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. You assume this is what closes the show. Maybe we're wrong, but I kind of feel like that goes on last. The question is, who's walking out with their hand raised, Jeff? If you were a betting man, Punk or Cody?
What a political chess game we have going on. I'm going to say Cody gets his hand raised.
I'm going to go Punk on that one.
Okay.
We got Liv Morgan and Io Sky. We've also got friend of the show, Nick Aldis and Gunther. Super pumped for this one. Golly, I'd do just about anything for Nick Aldis to win this one. I'd love to see it, but they've made Gunther such a buzzsaw. Man, he beat Goldberg, retired him a year ago this month. And since then, he's retired John Cena and AJ Styles. He better not retire AI Nick Aldis there. I don't know if you've noticed that.
That is big time AI. Me and Silva have had an AI discussion earlier today, but yes, that's AI Nick. And I don't think Gunther's going to last. I think Gunther taps in under 5.
I would love that. Probably to the sharpshooter playing in the middle. Hey, Obafemi, Brock Lesnar, Hell in a Cell. If you were formatting this show, do you start with this?
If it wasn't, I'm torn because it's Minneapolis.
Okay. So maybe you open with Punk or Cody. Where do you put this?
Well, that's a good question. That it really is. You may be spot on. I may be overlooking it, and Brock wants to do this, and they leave the finish where Brock's coming back and set up for Mania already. I don't know. I don't know. Good. It'll be interesting to see how it lays out.
It's also going to be interesting to see, is that going to be shown for free on ESPN?
Yeah.
Are they going to put a Hell in a Cell?
They factor all that in.
On ESPN, so we'll see. Let's talk about Sunday night. This is interesting. We've got Dominic Mysterio and Danhausen. We've got Chad Gable and Penta for the Intercontinental title. We've got Trick Williams and Baron Corbin. We've got Finn Balor and Sami Zayn. Whole lot of ladies in a ladder match here. Jade, Tiffany, Chelsea, Charlotte Flair, and as we're speaking, still one TBD. But what goes on last for this 2-night affair is Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins even did a interview this week on Busted Open Radio. I guess it's called WWE Radio now. We'll talk about that in a minute. And Seth said, I think all of us want to be at the top, and the top is the match that goes on last. I don't care what anybody says. I know there's a lot of conversation around the 2 WrestleMania main events now that there's 2 nights. But I'm of the feeling that night 2, the last match that goes on, is the money draw. That's the big match. It's the marquee match. That's the business I got into. So I'm always wanting to close the show. Of course, he says this as he and Seth Rollins are closing the weekend on Sunday. What do you think? Seth Rollins is the one box that Roman Reigns has not been able to check. He's got more WrestleMania main events than even Hulk Hogan. He's held the title forever and a day. He's making Bruno jealous. But he's never beaten Seth Rollins. Will he beat him this weekend, Jeff?
Yes. Roman gets his hand raised. No doubt. Oh, man. Yeah, the AI caught me off guard as the graphics were flipped up there. And I think Penta steals the show this weekend. That's kind of the overall arching. I think they steal the show. I think it's just the table's set for them, because when you look at the entire card, they're everybody's going, it's SummerSlam. They're going to step up and deliver. But I think Chad and Penta got a real opportunity here.
And Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're actually making the trek up to Minnesota this weekend.
I was about to say, Connie, if Silva don't have me and the Queen's WrestleCon graphic, we got fighting words. But yes, me and the Queen are there Friday and Saturday. Me and the Queen are going to be having a panel Friday night. I think ours kicks off at 9:30, but 4 to 8 on Friday, 10 to 2 on Saturday. WrestleCon, Jeff and Karen, Jarrett, the King and the Queen will be there. Tickets available now, WrestleCon.com.
And of course, while you're there, Double J is going to be there looking for that sweet, sweet picture money. And just in time that we have a partnership with Square. During Square's big biannual releases event, they have announced and launched a new wave of innovative tools to help local businesses run faster, smarter, and more profitably. From AI that answers your toughest business questions to tech that simplifies food orders and tracks every dollar, it's all live and it's built for businesses just like yours. Whether you're starting fresh or maybe you're scaling fast, Square can help you keep up and get ahead. And right now, our listeners can get up to $200 off Square hardware when you sign up at square.com/go/myworld. That's SQUARE.com/go/myworld. Visit Square to get started because the right tools make all the difference. And I don't think we can have a better testimonial for that than old JEFFJARRETT. He's at WrestleCon with Square. He's ready to take every payment type this weekend, from tap to pay to Apple Pay to invoices. Jeff can manage his staff this weekend, his payroll. He can run the scheduling all in one place. He can even sell online or in person with synced inventory. And you can even access your money instantly with Square checking. I'm telling you, it doesn't get any easier than this. I mean, Square has now even made Bitcoin simple for local businesses. You heard me. With Bitcoin payments, you can accept Bitcoin instantly. There's zero processing fees through 2026. There's no chargebacks. There's no delays. And with Bitcoin conversions, you can set aside a slice of your daily sales, like 10 or 20%, whatever you choose, and it will automatically grow long-term savings in Bitcoin. You've got one platform, two powerful tools, no extra apps. You can accept Bitcoin, grow with Bitcoin. It's all with Square. Go check it out for yourself right now. Square has launched its most powerful tools yet. It's all designed to give local businesses that competitive edge without the complexity. And if you're ready to sell smarter, run faster, stress less right now, you can get $200 off Square hardware at square.com/go/myworld. That's SQUARE.com/go/myworld. Run your business smarter with Square and get started today. Jeff, we did a little bit of everything today, man. We talked about SummerSlam. We talked about redemption. We talked about Vince maybe coming back. We talked about the methodology of being a good heel. We talked about old memorabilia. We had Gail Kim. I think we've said it all.
A lot of chat.
But what everybody wants to know most of all, and I mean, they're hanging on right now. They want to know the details. What the hell is happening with the Nashville Cats?
Buddy, that's Square. That's Square ad. We are OG folks with Square. It is great technology. But the Cats, I almost feel like it's the NFL season because this Sunday, yes, theaf1.com, check us out. And you can catch us in playoff mode. The Michigan Arsenal roll in here, and we are going to be kicking this bad boy off Sunday afternoon. We're on Vice TV, 3 o'clock kickoff. Good old Sunday afternoon football. Tickets are going, catsfootball.com. Yeah, pretty fired up, Conrad. We're a heavy favorite. We're playing good. All of our guys are back from injury. Conrad, we get this win. The Arena Crown Championship comes to the Den at F&M Bank Arena, and we're going to get us a championship. And, yep, already lining up some celebrations to be the first football pro sports championship in the Middle Tennessee area. So a lot of fun, man. We are fired up. Coach Fisher.
It's going to be a fun weekend. I hope you guys are going to check it out. And we are winding things down, but I want to remind you, we're live with Jeff right now. We're going to rapid fire Jeff some questions. He's going to practice some brevity, and we're going to get you guys over to Monday Night Raw. But before we do, I want to remind you, hit the subscribe button right now and turn on the notifications bell. Because if you're listening Tuesday on your ride to work and you're saying to yourself, I wish I would have known Gail Kim was going to be there. I had a question. Well, you could have done it, buddy. It's totally free. Go hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications bell. Jeff, NY2979 says, Jeff, I simply don't know why Tony Khan doesn't build stories. So many of his matches are random. I don't know who is a heel or babyface. Is Tony aware of this? Some talent has vanished. What are your thoughts? Man, I don't know. He feels like he's got an axe to grind with AEW. What do you make of this complaint?
At NY2979, I have said this about the day we launched My World Live. Creative is subjective. So, in your opinion, you don't think there's stories. I think you're saying they're random matches. To other folks, there's a lot of story, and the matches do mean something. If it's not your cup of tea, I completely understand. But I can tell you right now, earlier today, when we talked about redemption, me and Conrad talked about the stories there. Bucks, Cage, and Copeland. The stories there. Osprey, Omega. I could go on and on and on, but I appreciate your support, and I can assure you this: you dig into AEW, you'll get all the story you want. You said practice brevity. You said practice brevity, Connie.
No, you did. You nailed it. Cool Fool 1980 says, what are Jeff's thoughts on modern world titles? I know branding is important, but having the company logo take up most of the center is kind of boring. Of course, he's talking about the WWF world titles. What do you think of the WWE titles these days?
When I said creative subjecting, I think belts, me and Conrad. And one of the things that surprised me when I got to know Conrad is how much he cares. Literally the winged eagle and the 10 pounds of gold and the big gold belt and everything. It is art. And I get it. It's subjective. I've never been the one for me to go, oh, I don't like that belt or this and that. I think you can get a lot of mixed up if there's too many jewels and that kind of stuff. But again, belts to me are an artistic expression. So if you don't like the artistic expression, I completely understand, and that's your opinion. But I think belt makers appeal to the masses, or they're not in business very long.
Z Lopez wants to know which would surprise Jeff more: Vince rejoining WWE or Vince buying TNA?
I would be shocked if Vince bought TNA. He is probably, I don't know if he's the single largest shareholder, but he's up there, pal, as far as an individual owning stock. He ain't never left. He lost his, he may not be an executive, but as we've said, he's made more money since he stepped down than when he was there. That takes in a lot of zeros, fellas.
It would not surprise me to see him buy TNA, Jeff.
It would not?
Not at all. Not at all. I think those folks maybe at different times are thinking, hey, we just want to get out of this wrestling business and not lose our ass. And if that's where you are, a little bit of cash and an IOU from Vince McMahon and future stock of whatever he's going to build sounds a whole hell of a lot better than continuing to throw bad money after good or good money after bad.
Would that be the craziest thing in the world? Vince McMahon buys the company that Jarrett and Jeff Jarrett started.
It'd be amazing. It would be amazing.
I don't see it happening. But anyway, I mean, fun to hear you say
it would be great if he goes on camera again, and even though you don't work there, if he just fires your ass again.
I'd love that. Yeah. Hell, you can't hire me, so you can't fire me, but do it anyway.
We're just having fun.
Yes.
Rolly Boy 141 was excited to see Awesome Kong and Gail Kim. I think we all were. Greatly appreciate you jumping on. AOTV Productions wants to know, Jeff, what do you think about Danhausen? I don't know if you saw, Jeff, but they just announced over SummerSlam weekend they're bringing out a freaking Danhausen ice cream truck. It's the Danhausen Freeze Tour. They've got a little bus dressed up just like Danhausen with his giant face on the front. They're going to be selling frozen treats in and around Minneapolis for SummerSlam. Pretty silly, pretty awesome, pretty fun. What do you think?
It's pretty Danhausen. I mean, I'm going to throw nothing out there that's not a shocker. TKO may not have the most creative chops, but the monetization of a IP, they've got very few peers. So this doesn't shock me at all, but it absolutely, they don't invest in this kind of marketing outlay unless they've already seen not a little data, Conrad, I would say a boatload of data that they know they're going to get their ROI on there. That to me, as a student of the game and as a continual learner, I'm watching that and going, okay, I'd love to know how the data they've gathered, because they're going into the biggest show of the year, and my man is red hot. It's pretty cool to see.
It's all, of course, in part thanks to Triple H and his leadership. AOTV Productions has the last question for you today, Jeff. Would you like to wish Triple H, Paul Levesque, a happy birthday today?
There is a ton of July birthdays. Nash, Shawn Michaels, myself, Jeremy Borash. I could go on and on. So Triple H is in the July Cub. Happy birthday, Paul Triple H Levesque.
Hey, Doom Tribe is with us here live. We're going to put a button on it with this. LaGreca selling out for WWE is so sad, and Jeff's appearance on Busted Open promoting Darkside TNA may be the last AEW guest on the show. Neil Tack is wanting to know, what do you guys think of the Busted Open situation and not having AEW products on their station? Of course, today as we're recording on July 27th, Channel 156, which was, I think it was Wrestling Nation 24/7. They had just flipped formats, I guess, at the beginning of the year, and it was all wrestling all the time. And now they've pivoted, and it's going to be WWE radio. Seemingly the AEW chatter maybe is going away. Have you kept up with this? Do you have a strong opinion? I know that some people are pretty upset about it. I could see a business reason for this being a good decision for all parties involved, but there are going to be casualties, and it feels like people who aren't interested in WWE are a little frustrated today.
And so I think, I may be wrong, but Conrad, just a short yes or no. Did LaGreca say basically nothing's going to change on his show?
Yes.
That I'm like, Dave, nobody believes that. Not one person. If I'm Dave, I'm loud and proud in saying, you damn right, this is who we are now. We are WWE Radio. This is exactly the license agreement. We started this 17 years ago. This is my goal. And we can talk about all the other wrestling promotions, but if WWE is going to come along and write checks and partner, you're right. I'm absolutely going to be their voice 5 days a week. I'm absolutely going to promote their product. I'm absolutely going to wear it with pride. You've reached, quote unquote, a promised land. Try not to mix the signals. Don't confuse them. You'll lose them. You are the voice of WWE Radio. That to me is, go for it, man. It confuses me, but Dave, I'm serious. Congratulations. I would assume, and you said it on the radio, when you were coming and the little engine that could, and you were reporting on TNA back in the day, and probably revenue wasn't like it was, and then you built it and built it and built it, and now you've got a licensing agreement, and you are the face of WWE Radio. Wear it proud. That's what you mission accomplished as a businessman. So don't give us this gray hair. Nothing's changed. Nobody believes that, man. Stick to your guns. Conrad, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know. I don't pretend to know the inner workings, but I believe that Dave is an employee of SiriusXM. So if you're an employee of SiriusXM and SiriusXM has an opportunity to have a brand partnership with someone like an NFL, they take it.
Yes.
And if the NFL says, hey, we don't want you talking about the XFL, you say, yes, and thank you for the check.
Yes.
I mean, that's part of the deal.
It's business.
Because now if you're SiriusXM, you get to say, hey, we've got Howard Stern at least one day a week, and we've got these NFL channels, and we've got this Major League Baseball thing, and we've got hockey, and we've got WWE. If that means they're also going to promote your stuff, I get it. From a business standpoint, I really don't know why people are so upset with LaGreca, especially if I understand that he's an employee of SiriusXM. So if your boss says, hey, we have a deal with so-and-so, what are you going to do? Stomp your foot and say, I'm walking out. Like, that's not a thing. Like, I don't know.
I'll show them. Anyway, they've done the grind, and look where they're at.
Yeah, good for them.
I will say this, though, Conrad. And you kind of text, I'm not sure we followed up on it. Whew. When one door closes, another one opens. There is an opportunity wide freaking open to have 24/7, 365 chatter about all things except WWE. But no, you can't do that. There's the lane wide open of what Busted Open used to be. Talk about every promotion. It's there.
Woo!
Well, that'll do it for us this week. Greatly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here. Hit that subscribe button at myworldpod.com. Turn on the notifications bell and tell a friend, and we'll see you next week right here on My World.
Peace.
Want to grow your business with the power of podcast advertising? Reach loyal, engaged audiences through trusted host endorsements across the Podcast Heat Network. To learn more about advertising opportunities, email Dave@podcastheat.com or visit our website at podcastheat.com.